أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم والعاقبة للمتقين أما بعد. So inshallah we were discussing the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam and the lessons we get from it. This one, lesson number 14, it will be that the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, as they decided to get rid of him, and they were having a mashwara, they were asking each other's opinion, how should we proceed and what should we do with Yusuf. There were certain opinions coming in. Some of the brothers said, let's just outright kill Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, for our father only has eyes for him and Binyamin, his brother, while he has forgotten us, and we need to get rid of him so that our father could finally see us again as well, that we are living in the same house. So they decided to kill Yusuf alayhi salam until one of the brothers, some say his name was Yehuda, he said, he's still your brother Yusuf, don't kill him, but what we can do is take him outside and throw him in some well, so that when a caravan would arrive to get water, they would just take Yusuf out and take him with them wherever they're going, far away from us. So in that case, we wouldn't have the blood of our brother on our hands, and we would get rid of Yusuf. The other brothers agreed with this suggestion, that what you're saying makes sense. Instead of killing, let's just make sure that he goes far, far away from this place, never to be seen again. So they went to their father Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, and they said, Ya Abana, ma laka la ta'manna ala Yusuf wa inna lahu lanasihun, that, oh father, why do you not trust us with Yusuf, although we truly wish him well, that we will take care of him. And then it says, أرسله معنا غدين. It means that send him out with us tomorrow, غدا يرتع ويلعب, so that Yusuf may enjoy and he may play games with us. وإنا له لحافظون, and we will really watch over him and we will protect him. This was the ruse they came up with, that how could we agree to let our father let us take Yusuf, because he has never allowed us to take Yusuf with us. But with this, that Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam is cooped up in his house every single day, and then nobody would be there to play with him. And since we're going outside, and Yusuf could enjoy himself, and he could take some time off, he could look at the mountains and the valleys, and we'll play some games, we'll have some competition and contest. Yusuf will have fun, and in the end, we'll bring him back. وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ, and we are very strong people. So Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, to that he says, Inni layahzuruni, that I fear, first and foremost, he says, Inni layahzuruni, it would sadden me that Yusuf is leaving my side and he's not under my protection, under my gaze. It would sadden me if he were to take Yusuf away from me. Wa akhafu, and the second thing he says, and I fear an ya'kulahu dhi'bu, that a wolf might eat him. Wa antum anhu ghafilun, and you are unaware and you're busy with your own stuff, and a wolf might come and harm and eat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is the conversation that is happening. So this is why ulama, they have written first rule here, that غَدًا يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ, the concept of playing any sort of game in Islam. What does Islam says about that? Since the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam is saying to Yaqub that this is a valid excuse, that he will go out, play games with us, he will have some fun, he will enjoy himself. There is nothing that is disliked in Sharia about that. And Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam agreed. He says, you know what you're saying, it does make sense, that let Yusuf go out and play. So he agreed with that. Ulama, they have written that any sort of games, for them to be allowed in Islam, the 5 conditions need to be met. First and foremost, in any game that people are playing, especially in a team, in a team format, that satar should always be covered. Satar, we have discussed that any part of the body that Sharia requires that be covered at all times, it must never be exposed. And this is where a lot of games fall apart in Islam, because we have seen so many games that people play, whether that be soccer, whether that be any other thing, that their thighs are exposed, their knees are exposed. The way they're playing, you talk about wrestling, and the wrestling, all they're wearing is a very small Speedo, and that is it, and the whole body is exposed. So all of these games, not only would they be haram to play and participate in, but even to look at. So if you are watching a soccer match, or any other game for a matter, in which the satar of the people, it is exposed and you're able to see their thighs, their knees, then that means you are not allowed to look at and watch those games even when you are not there in the stadium. You're at the comfort of your own home and you're watching through a screen. But still, since the satar is exposed, those games is haram to look at. It is haram to participate. The exception would be made if the satar is properly covered. If they're wearing long trousers, long pants, that the satar is covered. And of course, we discussed that as well in fiqh class, that the satar of a believer is from below the navel all the way till the knees. If that part is covered, then everything else is fine. But if any of that part is exposed, that would be impermissible to look at. Same with swimming. Swimming is a very good sport. To learn swimming is also considered very good in Islam. But your swimwear, your swimming gear that you're wearing, has all of your body parts exposed, then that would also not be allowed in Islam. It has to be covered, at least the satar part, from below the navel to the knees included. And to look at them is haram as well. That's the first thing. The second one is any of the matches that goes on, there shouldn't be any mixed gathering in there. If there's a mixed gathering, then it would not be allowed in Islam. And this happens, unfortunately, a lot as well. You go to any college game or you go to any stadium, and of course there are both men and women, and men and women are like standing next to each other. So there is the whole mixed gathering of haram going on. So in that case as well, it would not be allowed. Or, although this does not happen, fortunately, but if it is such a case that men and women are both participating in a game, and it could be any game really. I mean, in competitive sports that don't happen. The women's team is separate from the men's team, but in some other local sports, it could happen that both men and women are participating together. For example, a sport that does not require much physical exertion. It could be like you're playing chess, right, and your opponent is a woman or something else, in which men and women can both play together, and there is a mixed gathering, then of course such a support would also be not allowed in Islam. The third one is if music is going on wherever you are. And unfortunately, if the other two are fine, the third will be present. That wherever you are, you will be music blasting in your ears. So for you to be present in such a place, especially when you don't need to be there, this is very important. Because a person might say that, oh, wherever I go, I hear the music. I mean, I go to a grocery store, I need to buy me some bread and eggs, and there's music going on. So are you telling me I can't go over there? No, you can go over there. Why? Because now there is a valid reason for you to go and get your stuff and come out, right? But in this case, to go watch a match or watch these sports, there is no valid reason. You don't have to do it. You are not being compelled to do it, and there is no real reason that is for your benefit. So in that case, if that is going on somewhere, you are not allowed to go see it. Same with the element of dancing as well. And especially how with the Western sports, they have a whole team of cheerleaders as well, and everything that goes on. So all of that is not allowed in Islam if that were to happen. So if we were to look at it, that very few sports would be left that we can actually safely either watch or actually participate in. The fifth one would be the gambling, and this is also a very important one, that everything else is fine, but the sport itself, there is some gambling involved. And this is why every single casino, to go over there and play cards or play poker or whatever, it is not allowed. Why? Because it's built upon the element of gambling. And not just that, but even if you don't go, if you are in your own house, and there is no mixing, satar is covered, there's no music, there's no dancing going on, and you're playing with your friend, your brother, or whatever, and you decide to add gambling to it, whoever wins will receive this reward, or whoever loses will have to pay for everybody's dinner, things like that. If you were to add that to a game, then that would be gambling. And this happens a lot between Muslim friends. We're going to have a match of, let's say, snooker, or we're going to have a match of ping pong, whatever, and whoever loses in the end will have to pay for all of our dinners, and they will have to take us to the restaurant, whatever. There is gambling involved, and because if there's gambling involved, that entire play has become now corrupted, and you cannot no longer play that game. So these are some of the usul, the ulama, they have written that if any of these are found in a game, you are not allowed to play it. Now, what if all of that checks out, meaning that all five of them are not present and it's a really safe game? You're playing in your local park, let's say, and all of the brothers participating are Muslims. There's no music, there's no dancing, there's no gambling, there's no mixed gathering. Everything checks out, everything is fine. Even then, Sharia says you have to look for some other things as well. First and foremost, if there is any game in which there is no benefit of a person's deen or dunya, Sharia says no, you cannot play it. If you're playing a game in which there is no benefit in a person's deen or dunya, right? Deeni benefit, really, it doesn't, mostly is not present in a way, directly at least. Indirectly, it could be. But dunyavi benefit is present, that a person is playing a game for exercise reasons to remain fit. So physical fitness is a dunyavi reason, it's a worldly reason. And indirectly, it is also a deeni reason. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself has said in hadith, al-mu'minu al-qawiyyu khayrun min al-mu'mini al-dha'if. That a physically fit and strong believer is better than a physically weak believer. This Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. فِي كُلٍّ خَيْرٍ, of course, and there's a khair in every believer, in every mu'min. But in the eyes of Allah, qawi mu'min is better than the dha'if Muslim. And why is that? That a qawi Muslim would be able to do more than a dha'if Muslim. Qawi mu'min can go and perform hajj exactly as the way Prophet ﷺ did. A qawi mu'min can go and participate in jihad fi sabilillah, while a dha'if Muslim would not be able to do so. A qawi Muslim can go and physically help other people, while a dha'if Muslim would not be able to do so because he just cannot do it physically, right? So a qawi Muslim in the eyes of Allah and Prophet ﷺ is better khayrum min al-mu'min dha'if because of how he is. So that's one thing, that there has to be some sort of benefit, either deeni benefit or dunyavi benefit in whatever play that a person does. The second thing here is that ghafla. There is some deeni benefit. A person is playing some sports to remain physically fit. But what is happening because of that, you're either playing it for so long or you're playing it at such a time in which you're missing out your prayers. For example, after Asr you went and you prayed all the way till Isha. Asr, where's Maghrib, where's Asr, where's Isha in the middle of that, right? Because of that, your a'mal, your deeds, you are showing ghafla, you are showing this heedless attitude towards them. In that case, even though everything else is fine, there's some benefit as well, but because of this element of ghafla, that now you are becoming heedless and unaware of your dhikr of Allah, remembrance of Allah, the salah that refers upon you, that you're missing, either your religious obligations or even your worldly obligations you're missing out. Why? You're supposed to help out your family at such a time, but instead of helping out your family, instead of doing the chore that you promised that you do, you're spending the time playing playing that sport with your buddies. So in that case as well, since there's ghafla in other obligations that were upon you, it would not be allowed. And the same thing is, like, if you're not even participating yourself, but all you were doing is you were just standing at the side and watching the game play out. In that case as well, there's ghafla if your other a'mal are being missed out. And the third one, they said that everything else is fine, but there is something that is going on that is against Sharia in that game. Against Sharia in that game that is going on, then that would also make it not lawful in Islam. An example that I gave earlier was, for example, everything else is fine, but there's an element of gambling in it. There's somebody present in there that is being forced to do something he does not wish to do, and he's just there because of the peer pressure, whatever. So any of that case would make such a game not allowed in Islam, because something that is going on in it, there's something that is against the Sharia. So we have to make sure that our prayers are not being missed. It's not makhloot. There is no mixed gathering. There is no dancing or singing in it. If that happens, that play would be allowed in Islam. And I've discussed a lot of times that physical benefit that comes with playing outside, of course, that is present, but also there are certain games that physically they might not uh, be more demanding, but they are more mentally demanding, right? For example, you're sharpening your mind through such games, and that would be allowed in Islam as well. For example, I gave the example of playing a chess, right? You're not physically exerting yourself, you're not physically doing anything really, but what you're doing is you're sharpening your mind through it, coming up immediately with the strategies, how am I supposed to defeat my opponent. So in that case, chess would be allowed, even though some of the fuqaha, they have called it still makruh, because how traditionally it had always included gambling within itself. The people normally would use chess in the form of gambling. Whoever loses would lose some money. Because of that, there's some karaha, there's some dislike. But according to Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, shatranj, the chess, it is allowed. Because it sharpens a person's mind, and it's like a mental exercise for a person. The same way as physical exercise is something that is good and people should do. Similarly, mentally, to make yourself sharper, that is also considered good in Islam, and so it would be allowed. Now here's the question. That is all of the games that have mental or that have physical benefit. But what if it's something that is completely digitalized game that we have right now, which we call the video games? Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I mean maybe 20 or so years ago, 20, 25 years ago, the video games weren't like what they are right now. Vastly different. I mean, if a video game of today were taken back into that time, people would call it magic, sorcery. What is this? What it was, I remember, especially in Lahore, there was these gaming stores. You'd have these big boxes, and you have 2 handles and 4 buttons next to it. You would pay the man 5 rupees, and he'd give you 6 coins. My cousin would take me over there, 6 coins, and then go ahead and play those games over there. And they were like really pixelated and everything. You can't really make out anything in those games back in the day. Regarding even those games, the ulama of that time, Yusuf al-Udhani Shahid rahimahullah ta'ala, he called it devil's trap. This is something that, in that case, has, in his opinion, he saw no benefit, Deeni benefit or dunyavi benefit at all. All the children learned were how to curse at each other once they lose. That's really the main thing that they learned. And they say, you lost the match. And I personally witnessed it many times that a person who lost immediately would start cursing the other guy. You know what? Let me go and buy a few more coins till I defeat you. So even more money is being spent, more time is being wasted, and they're just cursing at each other in the end, which we call the PvP, the player versus player games, and all of that. And there was no benefit that a person could get from his deen, from his dunya. A person couldn't say that I'm playing this game to sharpen my mind. And those were the games really that, since you couldn't even see the picture clearly, so you couldn't really tell if how they are dressed really or whatever, or your face, because it was 2D game, so they're not facing directly towards you. You can see their face and all of that. So that was not allowed. But in our times, especially with the current day games being developed in, and this is, you would not be able to tell a difference between a video game and reality in our times, especially if it's being played in like 8K and then with good everything, good system, and you have no idea if what I am seeing is reality or I'm seeing is a video game. You can't tell now because of the new technology, and hence everything is fully detailed. And now normally you would see that, okay, that's a woman in the game, and the way that the woman is dressed or the way the man is dressed. And not only that, but in all of these games, what goes on is a glorification of killing each other. You just kill and kill. Not only that, on top of that, the religious element as well, because all of these games now want to have a real world politics and elements in the game. So there would be some religion in a game. And I remember that I looked at the fatwa a year ago or so It was about Apex and Fortnite and these very popular games that our children are playing nowadays. It's like player versus player. You just kill each other in that game. It's a whole free for all environment. But in that game, uh, there were these idols that were placed in a game, and what the players are required to do is go and interact with those idols. I mean, you would press a button, and your character would like bow down and go down and worship the idol. And because of the worshipping of idols, you would receive some sort of powers or buff that you can use against the other players. And this is what would happen in the game, right? So because of that element as well, ulama, they have written that it is a very, very dangerous thing to do, because you might argue that I'm not the one that is doing that, but the character that you are controlling with your own fingers, and you are the pressing that interact button to bow down in front of that idol to receive that power that you can use against others, that's all on you, right? So you are the ones that are controlling that character, and because of that, they said that that could lead even sometimes to kufr, disbelief. So we have to be very careful about the games that we play. And unfortunately, every kid, I would say at least 90% of them, have some sort of gaming platform that they play games on, right? They either have Xbox, a PlayStation, or a PC, or even Nintendo Switch. All of that things that are present. So we have to be very careful what kind of games that our children are playing. The parental control is extremely necessary. Our 21st century parents, sometimes they say, no, but our kids' privacy, you have to give them privacy. You have so that their confidence will develop. No, I can't do that. I can't encroach upon their, no, let them do whatever they want, especially if they're now 11 and 12, because 11, 12, that's the teenage rebellion stage that's starting to show up. Nowadays, the children, if they're not, tarbiyah is not done, that's the 11 and 12 is the time that they'd start talking back to their parents, and they start thinking about, especially if they're going to public school or any school for that matter, in which they're on a daily basis interacting with other kids that have similar mentality. All they talk about is what movies coming out, what Hollywood star, what games, and what celebrity today, and what social media and everything. And because of that, the mind get poisoned really very quick, and especially the young mind is very malleable. You can either mold the mind to serve Allah, or you can mold the mind to serve the masses and serve whatever the current fad is, right? So it's very important that we keep an eye on the children to see what sort of game that they are buying through the father's, the parents' money. A new game that is coming out of all falls under lahav, that it is something that has no benefit, and on top of that, there will be glorification of murder in it. There would be some sort of religion in it. There would be fahsha in it, of course. You could clearly see the man and the women, and all of these games are really popular. They would be rated 18 anyway. They say that, okay, only 18 plus can play those games. The parents of the old times, the grandparents, when they would think about playing games, they said that the games is for children. Why are the adults playing it? They have to be explained that the games of nowadays is really not for children. They're for adults now. The games have advanced beyond that. And so ulama, they have written that it is not allowed. Most of these games, 99.999% games in our current times, to spend even a little bit of time on it would not be allowed. So we have to be very careful what sort of things that we do. Other than that, if there is any other game that is sharpening the mind and it's free from all of that, it is encouraged in Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example, he said in a hadith, and this is in Madinah al-Munawwara. I don't remember the whole hadith, but it says like, irmi, it means that shoot, O people of Medina, فَإِنَّ أَبَاكُمْ, for your father Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, he was a great archer. This is a hadith that shoot, O people, and learn to shoot, for your father Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, he was a great archer. And Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam was known for his archery. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is encouraging the people that go and shoot, learn to shoot, because at that time archery, it was the best weapon really. that you don't have to be in close quarters. From far away, you could defend yourself and attack other people. So the archery was well loved by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So archery, swimming, and all of these things, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged for the Sahaba to do so. And the famous hadith of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, that these Sahaba, the companions, they were practicing spearmanship, swordsmanship, and all sorts of other war games right outside of Masjidun Nabawi. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was standing in a corner watching them play these games. And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said that I wanted to watch them as well. So I was standing behind Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my chin resting upon his shoulder, and that's how I'm watching. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would ask me every 15-20 minutes, is that enough, Aisha? Have you watched enough? Are you done? Should we go back? No, Ya Rasul, a little bit more, a little bit more. So he stood there for as long as Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha wanted to see. So from that we understand. By the way, Aisha radiallahu anha was at that point was probably maybe 15, 16 years of age. So she was watching it, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself watched it, and he allowed it. Why? Because it was something that was necessary, that the Muslims have to train. Muslims have to learn how to do all of these things. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he encouraged. And how it is that a sound mind is in a sound body. So everything that is good for the believers, it is encouraged, provided there's no ghafla in it, that you're not missing out on any of those things, and you're not missing out on your obligations. So play in a time that you know that you have 2-3 hours that you can, there's no prayer, there's no other obligation that you can play, and that would be encouraged, that a person, they should do so. And they're doing it right. Some say it was even in the courtyard of Masjid al-Nabawi, or right outside of it. Right. So outside and the immediate area, vicinity of the masjid, is where they should be played, as the Sahaba did, as long as there is, of course, a place and a spot for it. I'll do one more, inshallah, quickly, then we will conclude with it, as the half an hour has passed. Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, Inni la yahzununi. When the brother said that we will take Yusuf out to play, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam said, Inni la yahzununi. It means that to take Yusuf away from me would sadden me, would cause me to grieve. And really, this is show that the parents, the love they had for the children, and especially if a child that they deem is something that would follow upon the footsteps of the father. For example, if the father is very, very skilled, if the father is very intelligent, if the father has accomplished much in any field, in any regard, and they see that out of all of their children, there is one child that is truly following upon the footsteps of the father, and that child is showing signs of a great intellect, of a great taqwa, of a great being a Muslim, then that child would naturally, the parent would come to love more, even though the parents love every single child, but that one would be loved more. In that case, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, from a very early age, he saw that out of all of my children, the one who would inherit the nubuwwah would be Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. That he is showing signs of being a nabi, of being a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he had a special kind of soft spot and love and kindness for Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. So immediately he says, Inni la yahzununi an tadhhabu bihi. It would sadden me if you were to take Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam away from me. And this was also a hint to the brothers that Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam had an inkling of what's going on. The brothers had no good reason to help Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam by taking him outside and playing with him. So they must have something nefarious, something planned that would cause harm to Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. And he's saying that if he were to do anything that would cause separation between me and my son Yusuf, it would cause me immense pain and immense sorrow. So don't do that. The Shia, they do istidlal from that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the same word huzn for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala an. When he was in the ghar with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the cave, he feared for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala showed that, Ya Rasulullah, if they were to catch you and you were come to harm because of that, it would cause me immense pain and sorrow that you, my beloved, are coming to any sort of harm. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, "La tahzan, inna Allah ma'ana." Don't grieve, don't sorrow, don't be sad, for verily Allah is with us. The Shia says La tahzan means that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, alayadu billah, he showed cowardice, that he was not brave at the time, and he was showing cowardliness, that the enemy is coming, and he's afraid the enemy will come and harm him. And this is what Prophet ﷺ is saying to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, that don't be afraid, Allah is with us, no harm will come to you in their own mind, because all they do is try to throw mud at the Sahaba Ridwanullah ajma'in. But of course, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala an, he was feeling sorrow and sadness on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Rasul, if you were to come to any harm, this is Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually stayed behind first, and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq entered the cave to see if there is no snakes, no scorpions, nothing of the sort. He cleaned up the cave first and foremost. Then he came outside and then took Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with him inside. And not only that, but as they're journeying towards Medina, and they have to walk considerable distance because of the mountainous area, and camels can't really take people with them in those areas. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he carried Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a considerable distance. All of that was his love, that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not come to any harm. And that is why he was feeling extreme sorrow and sadness that if something were to happen to him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as recorded in the Quran, La tahzan, inna Allah ma'ana. And Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam here as well, Inni layahzununi, that O Yaqub, O Yusuf, that if any harm were to come to you, it would cause me immense pain and immense sorrow. And the same thing happened with Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she was feeling extreme sadness upon the demise of her father. And the hadith says, لما توفي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حزنت عليه وبكته وقالت يا أبتاه إلى جبريل نعاه يا أبتاه أجاب ربا دعاه يا أبتاه جنة الفردوس مأواه. وقالت بعد دفنه يا أنس كيف طابت أنفسكم أن تحثوا التراب على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Because when the grief overcomes, right, she went to Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Anas, how could you bear that you would throw soil and earth upon your Nabi Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because of course when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is buried, people have to throw mud on it to cover it up, right? And Fatima, his daughter, so overcome with grief, she went to Anas ibn Malik, Anas, right? That how could you bear, how could you tolerate that you and people were to throw mud at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, throw soil at him, because he was in extreme grief. So we understand in all of these cases that it is very normal for a person to feel grief on behalf of another person, especially that other person that they love come to any sort of harm. And this is here Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam is saying, Inni layahzunni, that I'm feeling this extreme grief and sadness that if some harm or if Yusuf were to be separated from me. Inshallah, we will conclude with this and continue on with the next week with some other lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the faith to understand this. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.